And we're live with Jeff and
Oh,
Morgan.
hey, how's it going?
Fine. So, I'll do a little summary. Now, I'll give you the simple summary and then the long summary.
All right. So for the people who don't want the long summary, they'll just tune in for the simple summary and then just turn off the video.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. The freighter Ortega is circling in space. The Liberator investigates and finds the freighter's controls destroyed, most of the crew unconscious, and one of them murdered. When the survivors are woken, their leader, Dr. Kendall, informs Blake that they were on a mission to bring a valuable energy device, a neutrotope, to the agricultural planet Destiny. Blake agrees to take the neutrotope to Destiny himself, leaving Avon and Callie to repair the ship
Okay.
and uncover the
Sorry
killer.
to interrupt you, but can you repeat the part about what the neutrotype is?
Well, they have a fungal infection on their planet, and the idea is that they can put this neutrotope on a satellite, and the light will go through it in space, and it will scatter some weird kind of special light on the planet that will destroy the fungus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, that was one of the many things I didn't quite
Right.
get.
So
They kept
basic,
referring to the thing, but I didn't really know what it was.
yeah. So basically, it will destroy the fungus that's ravaging their planet.
Okay.
Right. That's why it's so valuable. Now the long explanation. Here we go. This is nearly 2 pages. The Liberator encounters a Galaxy-class cruiser, the Ortega, circling helplessly in space. Blake, Avon, and Kelly teleport across and find that the pilot of the ship, Rafford, has been murdered, and the rest of the crew rendered unconscious by gas rigged up to the air supply. The controls have been severely damaged so as to keep the ship in a circling orbit. However, there is no indication of who was responsible or why. The Liberator crew stop the tranquilizing gas from circulating and recycle normal air. They then talk with the crew of the ship and discover that it is taking a neutrotope back to its home planet Destiny, where it will be put in orbit in order to neutralize some of the rays of the star around which Destiny moves. In this way, a deadly fungus which is killing the plant life on the planet will be destroyed, and Destiny's agricultural economy will be able to continue as before. Blake offers to take the neutrotope to Destiny on the Liberator, whilst Callie and Avon remain on the Ortega in order to effect repairs. Although Kendall, the leader of the Ortega's crew, agrees at once, some of the rest of the crew are uneasy about the situation. However, a majority of one allows Blake to take the neutrotope onto the Liberator. On the way to Destiny, the Liberator comes into contact with a huge meteorite storm, which seriously drains the energy banks. During the storm, the container holding of the neutrotope moves from its position on the table and drops onto the floor. Checking for damage, Blake finds that they have been given an empty container and that the neutrotope is still clearly on board the Ortega, heading towards which they immediately turn the Liberator. On board Ortega, meanwhile, a second body has been discovered, Dortmund, who, because he and a life capsule were missing, had been assumed to be the killer. Soon after, there is a third murder, Mandrain. However, the murderer and reason for the killing are still unknown, although Avon suggests that anyone who got hold of the neutrotope would be in an ideal bargaining position, holding as they would be the future of an entire planet in their hands. It then becomes evident that there is a spaceship approaching the Ortega, presumably to rendezvous with the murderer and possessor of the neutrotope. Avon realizes that the message left by the murdered pilot in his own blood was in fact not coded, but merely the result of Rafford's hand faltering as he died. He then translates the murderer's name as that of the girl Sarah, who immediately admits responsibility and locks herself into the pilot's cabin to await the ship that will take her and the neutrotope away. Avon arranges a masquerade to make it sound as if the rescue ship has landed and a fight is going on outside. This induces Sarah to come out of the cabin, and she is immediately grabbed and put under arrest. The entire crew of the Ortega teleport back to the Liberator in order to be taken to their planet Destiny. At the last moment, Sarah throws away her bracelet and thus avoids the teleportation. However, the moment the rescue ship docks, in quotation marks, the rescue ship docks with the Ortega, there is a massive explosion. Blake having rigged up explosive devices to the docking mechanism, and Sarah and her associates are killed. That's the long version.
What was the short version? Stuff happens, big boom.
A little bit with the one I read from this book, yeah. So, what did you think of it, Morgan?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I liked it in general, but again, like I said, it was I was disappointed in the physical. I don't know.
Production?
Because Avon's like figuring all this stuff out. Oh yeah, I'm so smart, and then the girl's in the room, and he already knows who it is, and he decides to spell it out for everyone, literally, as opposed to like, I don't know, grab her or tackle her or something. Something actually useful.
Yeah, there was a Superman radio show where he did the same thing, and the guy pulls a gun because he takes too long explaining the whole story.
Exactly. And so he instead got another chance to prove how smart he was by doing this wonderful masquerade. Because that's how ends right.
Well, who'd have thunk it, an INTJ being overconfident?
I had actually, there was a moment where I started to doubt that he's INTJ because there was a chess match going on and he ignored it. That's not very INTJ-like to not have anything to say about the chess match that was in progress.
Right, so, yep.
Yeah, I found it kind of confusing, and as I said before we got on the video, like that may just be that I'm stupid, but I didn't understand what was going on for some of it. But I did sort of like the sort of murder mystery element to it because I like that sort of thing. But all the characters sucked.
Yeah.
Except for the one that did it, and I liked her, and so I was rooting for her, and so Blake, he's on my bad list now because he just brutally slaughtered everybody, including the cute chick.
Well, she killed her, so.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't his decision
Yeah, I
to be
said
like
that at the time, like, because you were talking
the
about
Avenger
in the beginning.
I mean, lots of people have died since he's been doing this stuff, and he hasn't avenged the deaths of all of them.
You were doing in the beginning, you talked about, because it was like doing the, shaky first-person view of the attacker.
Yeah, I was
saying
like,
that wasn't how
I was
Blake
like,
operated.
I know that wasn't Blake because that's not how he operates.
And then I said at the end, he just like murdered a whole bunch of people he didn't know.
I mean, I don't know how many people it was, but I was still like, did he just slaughter them for the fun of it? That's what
I know.
Like.
I remember that.
So yeah, I was a little bit.
I thought it was cool, but
yeah, I didn't. I don't like
but
it.
I was
anymore.
like, man, that is not. He was all kind of feely before.
I was happy for Sarah that she tricked him and got out of it.
I didn't.
I was like, if she'd gotten away, I would have been much happier.
Because she didn't trick anybody. Like,
well, not really trick, but
the guy
she got over on him like at the very last second.
The guy put the bracelet on her arm.
That kind of thing happens all the time in shows where something like that,
holding it onto
where they're
her
too
arm.
stupid to do anything about it, and it was like kind of
it onto her arm.
It's kind of like making fun of that.
Throw it off because he already knew she was trying to throw it off. She was trying the entire time. So he just held it the entire time, and then right at the last second, he was like, might as well let her kill herself. Like, I'm too tired to hold this on her arm anymore. Here, throw it off. Yeah, go ahead. Like, he just allowed her to throw it off. And I was like, and I knew she would die because of that, and I didn't know it was going to be an explosion. I just thought those guys would get there and be like, oh, you don't have what we want, and shoot her.
Give them credit for when the last episode it set up like the Master / Dr. Claw / whatever the Bond villains are called, like
Chavez.
or Moriarty or whatever. Yeah, having the Travis guy, I was like, oh, now they put him in there. Like every episode's going to be like, get him doing something. And so in the next episode, them doing something else, I'm like, that's good that they didn't just, fall into doing that. Like Doctor Who did when they introduced the Master, and that entire season, every story had the Master in it.
Yeah.
That was a little bit of overkill there.
Yep.
I mean, Roger Delgado was a good actor, but it's still like a little bit much.
Yep.
Especially because, as I was talking about earlier, in Terror of the Autumn, they introduced him as he's supposed to be like this mastermind criminal guy, then he ends up being kind of a moron. But in later stories, he had his moments, but in that first one, it was just like it was kind of dumb.
I think it's funny he always has his name and alias be something that means master. So the doctor always finds out.
Well, like changing headphones on the fly here.
Yeah, I can get them a little bit louder because I've got a little volume control with these ones.
All right, hold on. I'll test them.
Yeah, I heard that burp. Yeah, because last time I wore these blue ones, these nicer looking ones. You were saying that I was having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were saying you were having trouble hearing you.
No,
like I made it up or something.
Right. Let's put these away. I'll be. So, it wasn't.
I wish I could do this. See, that's where I'm jealous. Like, I know I was like making fun of you for something or about the way you pronounce something last night.
Yeah.
But that way that you say the O sound like you just did there, I wish I could do that. I'm like so envious of that.
What, you mean oh?
No, but you didn't say it that way. That when you said so, you were like, sir, I can't do it. See, if I could do it, then I would do it, but I can't imitate that.
So that.
Yeah, but it's that time where you say it where there's like this. It's almost like there's some other sound in there that I can't imitate. And sometimes when you've said no, it's the same way. But when you do the one where you kind of draw out the O sound, but then there's that thing in there that I can't do.
Oh no! That it?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. I can't do that. So I'll never be able to perfect that accent because I can't do that sound. It's like how I can't do the rolling R's in Spanish.
What about
it's going to sound lame trying to speak Spanish because I can't do that sound.
What about when I say maximum power?
What about it?
Is that sound when I say power?
No, not really.
No.
It doesn't sound like it. Yeah. I mean, you sound a little bit like you're saying it like it's POWA, but I mean that's not really a British thing. There's lots of people who say it that way. So. What?
Especially here in the South.
Oh. It was too effective an accent that I couldn't understand the words you said. Although it was a bit of an odd South accent. Not sure where I'd be from.
Now, there's a major plot hole in it where Avon said, oh, they couldn't drag the person to the escape capsule because it's little Sarah. But little Sarah could put the man on 7-foot tall filing cabinets. How did he get up there?
Well, she showed herself, like the one actual fight scene she had, she showed herself to be pretty strong.
Yeah, she elbowed Avon and he was like, ugh!
And remember, they were all going to sleep, so it's not like she had to fight him. She just had to get him.
Right, I'll get to that. And a wonderful line from Avon afterwards.
Well, he didn't just say that she couldn't. He said that it was too difficult to drag him all the way there without being seen. I don't know why he said that. At the time, I didn't know why he said that because I thought everyone was asleep by that point. But that's what he said.
One of them obviously.
Good point.
And they just didn't figure out that the other person was on.
I mean, the other guy already knew.
Well, maybe he's the one that helped her put him up there then.
Right.
But
so, I have some slides, and then I have some observations from the Maximum Power book.
To the aquarium?
Nope. So, just go for the slides. of the episode. So just before this, I'll show you something.
That's okay.
Just two slides from the beginning of the next story of two women.
No, I'm not looking. I'm not looking.
Okay, fair enough.
There you go.
Well, one of them's Carol Royal, and the other one is.
No, don't.
Okay, I won't say. I made that promise not to say.
Why do you feel the need to bring another episode into this?
Which episode?
Let this thing stand alone for what it was.
Okay. So,
But yeah, that's the
model,
problem. Like, you know what I said, the problem about me not caring about the characters is when they introduce a guest character that's only in one episode, and I find myself going, that's a more interesting character than the regulars, so they ought to, they should, like, I would have been fine with, like, trade Callie for the blonde chick. I don't. She's kind of lame.
She is kind of lame. I'd rather her do more useful stuff, but I still like her.
Oh, that was the funniest line in the whole episode when the dude, and can't be bothered to remember his name, but the guy with the funky eye that was talking about why he followed Callie, because he said he was going to apologize to her. Yeah. He says before that, "You're an attractive woman, so I was coming to apologize to." So he implies that if she was unattractive, then she wasn't worth apologizing to. Then I can treat you however, because you're not attractive, so screw you. That was the thing I liked most in the episode.
Yep, that's it.
Attractive women deserve apologies. Unattractive women can be thrown in on the ash heap.
Well, it does. It mentions in the maximum power. It says, "We don't like Lovett. She's sour. We don't like Sondheim either. He's got one of those faces, and he's a sex pest."
Yeah, Sondheim needs to get back to writing musicals.
Yep. Right. So, the sets in this story. I don't really.
The guy gets killed in like the first 2 minutes. He was a better character than most of the people who survived.
Okay.
They should have.
Right. So this is the.
Should have killed off the bald guy, Sorghum or whatever his name was. That other dweeb.
Yep.
The weird-looking chick who was like too robotic-looking the whole time.
Yeah, I thought she was like Avon was going to meet like a female INTJ there. The way I remembered it, they had more interaction, but no, they didn't.
He's got a much more energy than she did.
Yeah.
And I figured, my guess was that they did that to sort of set it up like she was the one, and because they made her kind of suspicious looking.
Well, this is the thing is, knowing these things that they have to make it like a motive.
Right, but I mean, and Morgan can back me up that I called it, and he said he knew it too. But I was like, it's going to be the screaming chick. She's the one,
Yeah.
So I figured it out, but because I've watched enough of those sort of things that I know, like let's kind of set up the bluff of the people you suspect.
Yeah, I knew the guy who was a jerk the entire time wasn't going to be it.
Right, you have the people that are set up to be too obvious.
Like, Avon was, like, listing people. Like, I think it's this person and this person would be next. And I'm like, all the people you're listing are not it. Or, like, the obvious ones that aren't it.
Yeah, and he always says man as well.
Yeah, I figured it would be a girl from, like, pretty much the beginning. And then I was, like, absolutely positive that it was her, especially when Avon mentioned that there might have been someone else who knew who it was and wasn't telling them. Then I was like, oh, there's that guy who's with that girl, and they're making that guy out to be hiding stuff. So I was like, all right, so it's the girl. Boom, done. Peace, I'm out.
Well, see, I was thinking after the first scene that it might have been the Travis dude, like, who did it to lure Blake there, because he obviously shown he's not above, like, killing somebody if it serves his purpose, So that was my original suspect. But
well,
like I said, I liked it better that they didn't just have him in every episode after that. So.
Well, I think what's happened is with both of you, I mean, obviously you've not just seen Homicide, but Homicide, watching all of those episodes of Homicide carefully will have trained you up in terms of being able to predict what's going to happen in this kind of story.
Well, no, it's different. On Homicide, it's more realistic.
Well, I would
yeah.
say, I mean, Homicide maybe, but I've seen a lot of other kind of sort of whodunit type things.
Right. Those are
Yeah, that's the thing.
Doesn't usually have as much of that.
Yeah,
most of
when
the time,
they have
it's
a
not.
whodunit, they say it, and they're like, "Your guess is as good as mine, guys, because we don't have the suspect."
Yeah.
When they do have a straight up, "This is probably the guy that did it," they're usually right.
Because that's what's true in real life.
Yeah, that's the realistic one. They're like, okay, this was the situation. This was the guy who had the motive and had the placement, and he was stupid, and that's usually how it happens. And they're like, oh, we found him. It was this guy. Yeah.
Usually, if it's not like if there's two people that somehow are related to each other, and I don't necessarily mean by blood, but I mean like they were in on stuff together, they were running buddies in some way. Usually, when they narrow it down to these guys had something to do with it, it was either one or the other, and the one that wasn't it knows that the other one did it. So it's just a matter of getting that one to flip on the other one.
So that's the sort of thing I mean, is that when you've seen so many of these things, and Dario talks about practice has a big effect on the brain, and when you're seeing so many of these plots, you get better at understanding them. It's just like if somebody takes a lot of IQ tests, they end up getting a higher IQ.
I didn't, but the things I didn't understand were like what the actual motive was, what the thing was that she had, and stuff. I understood it was like something that gets you rich, so the motive was just making money or whatever. But I didn't really understand what the thing was because I'm stupid, so I didn't pay attention very well.
They were kind of BSing some stuff. They were making up some
one thing I noticed, about the show is like there's a little bit too much explanation, where it's like you can over-explain something.
Especially when
where
you're
like
making
if
up the science,
if you keep it simple, then it's like easier to understand. Like you try to like go into more and more stuff, and it starts to get like, wait a minute, what did they say the actual thing was? Yeah,
a bunch of stuff that's really not necessary for you to know.
I think it's.
My mother would love it because she's always like telling strangers extraneous information that has nothing to do with what it is she's actually trying to acquire.
I think it's the writer. I think it's the writer showing off.
But it's showing off nothing because they're just making up crap and it doesn't sound like even plausible. I basically stopped listening when he was explaining what the thing was.
I did, yeah. That's what I mean. Like
the concept of what it was. It was the thing they needed using the sun because science in order to get rid of the fungus thing that was killing all their crops, and I understood that. But they kept going like, and because of this made up science says that this made up science allows the sun's made up science waves to made up science, and I'm just like, come on, guys, enough of that.
But I think that's NTs. I mean, that's really for the NT audience. You know what NTs are like at that age.
There was one. I mean, the dude you got on the screen now, like there was one funny line he said too, but I can't remember exactly how it was. It was something in response to Callie when she said some kind of old saying of her planet.
I've got that.
Yeah,
I've got that. I've got the screen cap. I've got it.
Okay, all right. I'll let you put it up then.
Right. Okay. And just little lines like this. It's very quiet here. If it should get noisy, I'll be in touch. And then, now look at this from Blake. Look where he's got his hands.
Oh, lousy.
I'm not getting any signs of life. I'm feeling exactly where you can tell the life is, and I'm not detecting it.
Now, here's a question for Morgan. Could you tell Morgan when it was shot on tape and then when it was shot on film?
Oh, that you shouldn't even be asking me because I did notice, but he was the one who actually mentioned it.
Yeah, I was like, they randomly went to a different part of the ship, and all of a sudden they're on film.
Yeah.
I did,
And the
did
sets
notice
were
that. I
better.
was like, oh yeah, the visuals definitely did change, but I didn't like specify.
Well, that's why another
The
thing
reason.
confused me, because I was like, is this supposed to be like outside the ship in some way, like they're in some other thing? Because that's why I figured, like, you know, I'm used to Doctor Who doing that, where it's like outside film, inside video, like that's kind of a thing
Yeah.
that I've seen them do. So I was like, was this supposed to be outside the ship somehow? Like, otherwise, why did it suddenly change to film?
Blake 7 was only allowed to have about 10 to 12 minutes of film per episode, and they had access to Ealing Studios. And whenever they actually had a set at Ealing Studios, probably because the people that made the sets were like film people, the sets were actually better. The gadgets had more heft to them. The buttons were better. All little things like that were better when they did that at Ealing Film Studios.
But they were hardly in there for. Like, I mean, it was only like a couple of minutes or less. So
like for instance,
I would have just said,
So-
let's just skip that, because it's jarring to suddenly change.
oh
like
yeah,
that.
I know. So for instance,
I didn't
here
even
you
notice
see
any of
all
the things on
knobs.
set.
So for instance, here when this would be shot at Ealing, and all this equipment will be made by the prop guys at Ealing, who were better.
Well, I saw. Because it was on crappy film and it was reminding me of Doctor Who. It
Yeah,
was like,
60
I saw, like, the
millimeter,
outline
not
people in like the weird contrast. I couldn't really tell what they were messing with because the film didn't let me.
yeah, 16 millimeter.
If I would have been the one directing, I would have been like, it's just not worth it. Just skip the film part.
Yeah.
Because
Well, sometimes it's
I spent more time being like, you know, making a comment to him about the film change than I did to listening to what they were talking about in there. So, or looking at the set. I'm like, it didn't really look that much different than the rest of the ship to me, other than just being on film. So I was like, what are they doing here? What's this?
I think that whenever they go on, anyway, whenever it's at Ealing, I think the props are better made. Not a very expert job. That can be. That's an
like
entity.
I said, to me, I didn't notice anything that I would say was better about the props. So, but
Did you notice John Leeson, voice of K9?
No, which one was he? I forget what he looks like. So, that's him.
No. I'll. It's actually Pasco, but I was just showing. This did this to show the characters. So this guy.
Oh, was that the actual nice guy? The one nice guy on the crew?
No, somehow he was the one that was after Kelly, I think.
No. The guy you're talking about.
The K9 guy.
Yeah. I'll go to him.
There was one guy that was like randomly nice, where everybody else was a jerk.
Well, he's like female INTJ or ISTJ, and then going to film, and then I was so how about that for a prop? That blows my theory out of water. That one is badly made. That's something like made at school.
What's that game? Is it Mastermind? What's the game where with the colors where you're supposed to keep remembering the pattern? Whatever that thing's called, I forgot.
There's multiple versions.
So film. So there he is. That's John Leeson. It's K9. Voice of K9.
Yeah, so
I've got some.
Yeah, it was
I
funny
got some
because
close-ups.
the line where he said like the other guy lacks what did he say? Emotion or
no
compassion?
Compassion.
Something.
Compassion.
Said he lacked something,
Yeah.
and then like he stood up. So I thought it would have been funny if he said, "I, on the other hand, lacked balance," and then fell down. You know, that would have been the comedy thing to do right there. But yeah, also the part where he stood up, it was like, there's one possibility you haven't considered, and I thought it was going to say like,
Right.
actually I did it, or
Yeah.
Right.
there was something you said like, I've come to realize something or something like that. And then it was like, turns out I did it. I just forgot. You know?
But I got some good Avon lines here. So we've got. I think Callie's a bit NF in this one. We will regard ourselves as hostages against Blake's return, and then Avon says, "Thank you, Callie. What a clever idea."
Yeah.
And then she thinks to him, And then his reply is, "You can bet your life on it. In fact, you've bet both our lives on it." "We must help these people," Callie says, and then Avon replies, "Must we? Personally, I don't care if their whole planet turns into a mushroom."
Apparently, Blake had the same attitude because he just wasted them. The other guy.
Yeah, I know. I wrote down on the clipboard at the end, "cool" or "casual killing from Blake. I rigged the charge on the entry hold." It just says it.
Like, he just, like, there was no real, like, reasoning given. He just went ahead and did that while they're focusing on the actual plot.
Turns out in the last episode of Blake 7, Blake is horribly mutated and revealed to be Davros.
Oh dear.
The actual full title of the series is Blake 7, The Genesis of Davros.
I'm saying nothing. Right.
He knows the truth.
I shall say. Right. No, is it NT? No. There we go. What we got here? Oh, this is it. I think this is very NF. My people have a saying: "A man who trusts can never be betrayed, only mistaken." Do you think that sounds NF, Jeff, or just silly?
Yeah,
sounds like some words.
Yeah,
it's idealistic, and then and then life expectancy was fairly short among your people.
Yeah, that was his best line.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that actually got me a laugh.
There he is. That's John Naiston. So do you like her then, Morgan?
No.
Do you like Callie?
He does.
Yeah, I wish she would do more useful things. I liked her in the beginning because she, like, had a gun and she was, like, you know.
I want to know where she gets it.
Yeah,
I want to know where she gets her torch from.
Like, actually fighting when they introduced her, you know.
I like chicks with guns, and Donald Trump, he gonna make America great again.
Yeah,
Where'd she get this torch from?
So that I always think that's funny that the British people will call those torches, because when I hear torch I think of like Dark Ages, like a big stick with fire on it.
Well, it's because
and I'm like,
England's still in the Dark Ages.
Oh, that's where
I didn't hear that. I was too busy.
His Occupy Wall Street
reading that line.
Rim shot guy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's just funny to me that in the future that they would still refer to this electronic device as a torch. It's kind of funny.
Right.
Like, sounds like.
Yeah, and I mentioned that it was kind of bad for an inventory reason to have their guns look like their flashlights.
You mean they're 6-shooters? That's what they
should
call.
No, they're flintlocks. Anyway, but they like pull out. She pulls out this gun, or the blonde chick or whatever. She has this gun, and I'm like, that looks almost like exactly like their flashlight torch thing they brought out earlier. Like, the handle's the same, so if you just like pulled it out and started using it, you could just fry somebody on accident.
Well, that's the thing. They might have just changed the end.
Is like where that guy establishes himself as completely useless. Frankly, I can't even guess at a motive.
Yeah.
Even I could. I'm dumb. I admitted I couldn't follow the what was going on, and even I could guess the motive.
Well, yeah, but you sort of said that, so then Avon
brain was in his hair that he doesn't have anymore.
Well, yeah, okay. Then so Avon can then say, "Try greed; it's usually reliable."
Yeah. Yeah. He's there to provide the voice of. It's not even the voice of reason. It's the voice of average intelligence.
Yes.
Here you go. Here's the stuff.
And then there's a bit here from Avon.
And Avon is there to say, because the wires are all pulled out. He's Captain Obvious.
Yep. And then we've got this stuff about instinct. He thinks it's somebody else, and then he says, and then Callie says, "I thought you mistrusted instinct." I do. I am probably wrong.
Yeah, he's like, I do, so I'm probably wrong. And he's like looking up in contemplation as he says that, so I found that amusing.
Yeah, that was like almost a Han Solo-ish line right there when basically
Yeah.
is this going to work, and he's like, probably not.
Yeah.
And I'll put some pictures of Jenna in for Jeff.
Oh yeah, I was doing.
Yay!
I was helping fix my
Distant
friend's-
meteor impacts. Yeah, I'll bet there were.
I was
The
helping fix my
Gonna make
friend's
some sort of
computer.
really vague innuendo out of that.
Helping fix my friend's computer at school, and I was
Like,
like,
chop my hand off to tell me about it. What's just, oh, but just be a little more obvious, Ben, in your close-ups. You started zooming in.
Well, there's Morgan's favourite, Callie.
"That's not how that happened." But you go ahead.
Has he said anything? That was a good line to definitely screenshot, because that was a pivotal line in the episode.
Yeah, but
Has he
some of
said
the lines
anything
are taken by mis. Oh, I pressed the wrong one. I pressed the.
What'd you do?
Damn it! I pressed the end one. Put it back here. The wrong button.
Don't worry,
Right,
your audio is
I'll-
anyway, so it's probably telling you to kill the picture. Well, I don't know. You can leave that picture up if you really want to.
Right now. There's your favourite, Jeff. You like her?
Yeah, the only thing is, the haircut. She needs a new hairdo, but other than that,
Well, it is 78.
well, yeah,
And then that's Avon.
there were some decent hairdos.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
That's
everyone
Avon
knows
whacking.
hairdos were the best in the '80s, so she needed a few years.
Now, did any of the coppers on Homicide hit a woman and then afterwards say, "You better get her out of here"? I really rather enjoyed that.
Well, I can't tell you that because then I'd be spoiling future.
Oh, okay. Maybe Howard would say something like that. Right. Okay. Now I'll pennant Rob and then yeah. Right. Now I can do the little bits from the book.
Yeah, because if you kill the pictures, I think it'll improve your sound.
Right.
Being a little bit.
Yeah, it was just with the. Yep. Anyhow, so I underlined the bits to mention, so there won't be too much fluff. Got random insult, not a very expert job. Not that funny, but here we go. Everyone goes to great lengths to mention their names in the introduction scene, with the exception of 54124. Sorry, Sarah, not suspicious. Half the Ortega is on video, half is on film. You can't be very dead, Blake. You either are or you aren't. No character called Rebek, Terry. BBC documentation officially logs this as the dullest episode since the way back. Avon's explanation of the difficulty in moving Dortmund's corpse to a life rocket is piffle. Hefting the corpse up onto a 7-foot-high filing cabinet is surely harder work, especially when it eventually transpires that the murderer is 5'0", weedy bimbo nutbag, Sarah 54124.
See, everything about that makes me, it's fun. She gets better, with that description.
Right. Right. This is the
If anybody watching this, I know this is probably true, that someone watching this out there among our huge audience has been dying to know what's Jeff's ideal woman, and that description he just read is pretty close. That's pretty close. Rick, can you read that one more time? Can you read that one more time?
Here we go.
Yeah.
Right, here we go. You can probably write it down. Here we go. It's surely hard, especially when it eventually transpires that the murderer is 5'0", weedy bimbo nutbag, Sarah 54124.
Yes, 5 foot
Weedy
nothing,
bimbo nutbag.
Nutbag. That's it right there.
You have a lot of. Is that like that character that you like in One Life to Live?
Yeah, pretty close. Tina is is a little taller than that. She's 5'3", I think. But you know, frequently wears heels, so she looks a little bit taller than she is. But it's funny because they actually change over the years. You know, who was wearing the taller heels, Tina or Vicky? So when she came back in 2008, she actually looked a little taller than Vicky because at that time, by that time, I guess Vicky, you know, gotten tired of wearing heels and was wearing more flats, so she didn't look, she didn't tower over Tina as much because she was only 5'5". She wasn't that much taller than her. But in the early episodes when Tina was on the show, or in the '80s episodes, it always looked like Vicky was so much taller than her because obviously she was wearing taller shoes.
Right, okay, so getting back to Blake 7, this is the 800th time Terry Nation used the name Dortmund. It appears in everything he ever wrote, including shopping lists.
Don't tell me. Dortmund was in the Censorites? No, that wasn't Terry Nation. What? But I know it was a Doctor Who story.
Keys of Marinus?
It might have been Keys of Marinus.
But it does tend to like repeat names again and again.
Because yeah, that name sounded really familiar.
Like he uses
So
Tarrant.
Yeah, it was in a Doctor Who story.
Like Dev and Del and all these. He's not very good at coming up with names.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
So I like that line, Dortmund. It appears in everything he ever wrote, including shopping lists. Darrow throws the greatest punch in the entire series when he decks Sarah, 54124. Then we've got delightful dialogue. Callie, we must help these people. Must we? Personally, I don't care if the whole planet turns into a mushroom. Showed that one. And then Callie, my people have a saying, a man who trusts can never be betrayed, only mistaken. And then your favourite line, Jeff, life expectancy must be fairly short amongst your people. And then another line, and then from Avon, it is frequently easier to be honest when you have nothing to lose. And then we've got here, Jeff, have you ever seen Alien? Pardon?
Like I didn't understand that either. Like when they were trying to contrast like the crew on that ship having more to lose than Blake. Like I don't really. What did they have to lose as opposed to him? That was confusing. I didn't get that.
I think Avon was just commenting on the ship, where I sort of get what he means.
Well, can you explain to me what it is that they had to lose that he didn't?
No, I think it was the other way around. They didn't have anything to lose.
Well, no,
they didn't have anything to lose because Blake was the only option. Because if Blake
didn't have anything to lose,
he didn't.
No, it's the other way around. They didn't have anything to lose because if Blake didn't take the Nutritope, the planet would be dead anyway. He was their only option.
No. They were saying that Blake had nothing to lose. So he wouldn't be.
No, I think it was the other way around.
I think
we need a neutral arbitrator to decide this.
Go watch that clip again. Mark their exact words down. We can have an actual debate over it if you'd like. I don't really it seemed to me, going to my room anyway, so this is my offhand opinion.
Maybe it was one of the.
He doesn't, because otherwise the comeback wouldn't matter, because they were saying that he has nothing to lose, as opposed to them. He has no stake in this, so he could just go sell it if he wanted to, because he had nothing to lose from doing that, just everything to gain. So. But then the comeback was something to the effect of, people can do more things when they have nothing to lose. Can do better when they have nothing to lose, or something stupid.
Well, he said they're more honest. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure, that one.
But yeah, I was like, I don't. But that was where I suffered from not really understanding what it is they were trying to protect.
Because they'd saved the planet. That thing was
I missed that entirely.
Yeah.
I was just like, the psychotrope does what to who now?
Right. So, was the Nostromo
Doctor Who when they kept talking about the isotope or whatever?
Yeah.
Was the
There's a line here
that the mother brain wanted or whatever.
And we got here. It says the Ortega has the cheapest, emptiest spaceship sets ever. The Nostromo it ain't. Was that the name of the ship in Alien? Nostromo.
Did you say something about a taint?
I'll say it again. Amateur hour section of the book. The Ortega has the cheapest, emptiest spaceship sets ever. The Nostromo it ain't.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Right, what have we got here? Here we go.
I wouldn't have remembered it was called the Ortega if you hadn't read it out of the stuff.
Right. So here we go. I think it says there, the mix of film and video is very jarring in this episode.
No, that's the same word I used.
Yeah. So, see, what
Honestly,
I thought...
if it was a budget issue on all that stuff, including Doctor Who, I would have said just do it all studio. Like, I didn't know why they thought it was better to have like a couple minutes on film in an episode than to have the whole thing on video. Like, I don't understand why that was seen as being some sort of accomplishment.
You see, there's a paragraph in here, but I don't know if it's bullshit, because it is like a spoof book where it says here, the recording of this episode was severely disrupted by a union dispute. However, nobody on either side of the incident actually knew what the dispute was over.
That does sound somewhat realistic.
I know, they had some crazy disputes at the time. So, for instance, there was an argument about the control column going up and down in the TARDIS. Like, was it the electrics department or was it the props department that was in charge? And eventually the props department decided to make it go up and down in a pneumatic fashion, so that then the electrics people can't touch it, because it was all like demarcation as to which union had control.
I don't know that word.
What, demarcation?
No. The other one that started with new.
Pneumatic.
Pneumatic, yeah.
Gas operated, air operated.
Oh,
you know, like a pneumatic drill.
Yeah, I don't know that.
And I think it's called a jackhammer in America.
Okay, yeah, I know what a jackhammer is.
And it worked. Don't they pump air into it to make it work?
I know what it is. I don't know how it works.
Right. Okay.
I know they like turn it on and then it goes whir, and then it like does things to like rock or something.
So.
Yeah, I'm brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. I'm like one of the smartest people.
So what out of 10?
So much stuff.
We'll start with Morgan first. Morgan, what do you give it out of 10, that episode?
He already left, man. You missed your window on that.
Oh no. What about you?
That's tough. I guess a 5.
Ooh, that's
like
quite high.
Like my split decision score, because it's like there were good elements, but then there were enough other stuff that detracted from it that it kind of ended up in the middle.
Better than Cygnus Alpha. I think you gave that a 3.
Yeah, it was better than that. This one had like it had cute chicks and murder mystery stuff, and I actually like Avon as being like the detective solving the murder mystery. Really, they should ditch the rest of the plot and just have it be Kerr, Avon, murder detective. Just have that be the series.
Oh, so you like Avon now?
Well, I wouldn't say I like him as a person. I wouldn't want to hang out with him.
Oh, no, of course.
But there's definitely
interesting
things
character.
you can do with the character.
Yeah. One of the things I find, though, with that character is that INTJ is watching. I think they want to be him. because of the way because of his wit. That's how INTJs want to be.
Probably some of them have.
Yeah, like the younger INTJs.
But then, like I said, he betrayed INTJ Nation by not doing anything with the chess set. That was.
Yep.
That was a little bit of an oversight.
So
I don't think Terry Nation is an INTJ. Otherwise, he would have known that.
Right. So, folks, this is from this book, Maximum Power, which is a quote from someone in it, but I won't. A guide to all 64 episodes, but there are only 52. It's a spoof book. of the guides that you used to get in the 1990s. Oh. So, and it's even got a fake sticker on it. That's just part of the design. It's got fake wearing on the edges of the book. That's part of the design. It has fake creases, like on the corners. Although that bit there's a real crease because that it arrived like that. But it has fake, all that on the side, all that age wear. That's all fake and part of the design. Right. Although some of it now it's become real ones. Right. So that's the end of that, folks. So the next one is, I think it's my favourite episode because it's got Carol Royal in it. And she was
I don't know who that is, so he hasn't really spoiled anything except
no.
that, you know, some woman whose name is Carol is in it. So
no, she's a good-looking chick, and she was good-looking. I saw her in Doctors when she was 58, and she looked good then.
see, now you've set me up for a letdown because then if I don't think
Oh! It's no letdown. It's no letdown.